Well, today we're going to start out with a topic I've titled Just Thought. Christ plays in 10,000 places. That's a quote I found. I really loved it. I mean, man, that is the neatest thing in the world. So we're going to go see what it means. We've been using this example throughout these talks. And for some of you who have not been here, this is an object that we dealt with in the Grace to Forgive message, where we looked at our various aspects of our lives, where our reactions and our behaviors are really the things that everybody sees around us, but there's this whole wealth and depth of items underneath that nobody can see, and we all experience to one degree or another, and it's all different. It really what comprises who our makeup is, and I basically called this our behavioral iceberg, where we just don't know. We can see only the top part. That's the only part we really actually can ever see, but there's this whole hidden, deep, dark, mysterious element underneath. It is cool because it's an iceberg. All right. Today we are going to be talking about beliefs and values. That's the subject of our understanding. So we're going to give you the basics of this, so we're all on common language, common ground. Definition for beliefs: it's an opinion or a conviction, a confidence in the truth or existence of something not immediately susceptible to rigorous proof. Confidence, faith, and trust. It's a religious tenet or tenets, religious creed, or faith. Pretty standard definition, just so that everybody understands where we're coming from in here. Values. We've got two different types of values we deal with in sociological issues and ethic issues. Values are the ideals, customs, institutions, and etc. of a society towards which the people of the group have an effective regard. These values may be positive, as in cleanliness or freedom or education, or negative, as in cruelty, crime, or blasphemy. In the issue of ethics, it is an object or quality desirable as a means or an end into itself. A means and an end to itself. Is Christianity an ethic, or is it a belief? Very deep. Remember, we're in an iceberg ocean, so I'm going to go deep today. We have, through childhood, dealt with a number of beliefs. And they shaped really who we were. There were things that we believed. And as we grew up, they changed. They kind of became something like this. Yeah. I like the other one better. As children, our values were like this. But as adults, it suddenly became, back up, this one. Things started to get into this process of looking at things through a much more finer, tuned spectacle, where words became important and play was no longer required. There was no longer the issue of growing up. There was the issue of trying to embrace everything or deny people or whatever. Our values change. For who knows what reason. So, when you look at this pyramid that we've been dealing with, you'll notice that I took the core needs and spelled them out there at the bottom. This is what we dealt with in the last previous 4 messages. Love and connection, significance, and certainty, uncertainty, growth, and contributions feed into your values and beliefs, which will affect your thoughts and emotions, which ultimately determine what your behavior and reactions are going to be. Now, how beliefs work here is the beliefs guide our perceptions, how we perceive things. That's why it says it in the definition there that there wasn't anything rigorous observation about whether a belief was valid or not. It's just how we perceive it. An example of that is if I told you to look in this room and find everything that's blue, Okay? Believe me, for the next hour, your mind is going to be fixated on blue things. Because I've changed your perception to look at stuff in a certain way. There's not a validity of truth or error in any of that. There is just the fact that I have shaped your perception to constantly look at the things that are blue. And that's what our perceptions do. It comes through sight, it comes through sound, it comes through feeling, it comes through a variety of sources, and that's how our perceptions or our beliefs of things occur. Now, beliefs occur on a micro level or a macro level. A micro level being my personal beliefs. These are what the things that I believe personally about certain things. And they can be beliefs that are dealing with your love and connection with somebody. This is how I believe I operate with you. This is how my belief of my connection is with you. Or it can be on the macro level where it's dealing with your belief as a nation. How you figure into the nation, or what the world's events are going on, or how things are going to affect you in certain ways. Whether you're going to get on an airplane and you're going to make it home safely. Okay? Those are beliefs that we carry. They're always in flux. When they become hard and fast beliefs, you enter into fundamentalism. Because you are strict adherents of this is what it is and nothing can change it. Values, on the other hand, are the structures of our actions. Okay? Those are the things that we see. They structure how we respond, how we act with people. How we do the certain things that we do. Is it okay to walk into a store and take all the goods that we want and walk out without paying for them? Well, okay, there's a value in there that says you don't do that. Because that would be classified as stealing, which would mean that you'd have to go to court, which would mean you'd have to possibly get prosecuted and go to jail, which means you'd spend time dealing with people who are bigger than you and probably would beat the heck out of you, and they would make you their girlfriend. Yeah. Okay? So we have a value that says it's not proper to do that. People operate from different sets of values. We need to recognize that everybody has a separate set of values. We can say that we live in a Judeo-Christian nation where we've got certain standards that we've set for people. Those are all values. They're moral judgments. Do we believe in the good and the evil and the bad and the pleasant and all the various things? And you talk to two people about the same subject and they each have a different opinion about how it should be determined. Those are your values. Your values are not mine. And we hope that as we come together as a community that we do share those values, the ones that are common with everybody. See, culture begins with beliefs. Every culture has a belief. And ultimately, our behaviors will be expressed because of our values. So the question is, what does the culture of grace look like? See, a culture, you're probably thinking, is this great big huge body of people. It's not. It's you and your family. That's the start of a culture. That's where you begin the process of developing what a grace body looks like. And then what are the values of that body? What are the things that are important? What are the things that stand out? So let me ask you this. Do you value morality? Yes, no. You're indecisive. You're on the fence. I understand, but sometimes. Do you value immorality? Okay. Do you value grace? Sharon, the law of three. Sidebar for her. Me and her just go. Yes. So the question that you really need to address is this. Do you believe in the immoral value of grace? Because believe it or not, grace is the most immoral act that God ever did. Because morality is and under definition is to do something right. And granting grace to Hitler, to Stalin, to a pedophile, to a rapist is immoral. And he even granted it to you. I know, many of you have doubts about that. But God doesn't. He has no doubts. See, all we have to do is we're trying to get from a doubt to a belief, and it often requires a leap of faith to make that jump. But you got to be careful and very cautious about the beliefs that you have, because in the middle of your belief could possibly be a lie. And if you're not aware of it, you're going to go on and on and on off on this tangent, not realizing that you're believing a lie. So the first point of wisdom is to discern that which is false, and the second to know that which is true. And the biggest problem that church has today in the faith arena is they've lost their ability to use wisdom. And so they have this belief that their faith is going to carry them through any of a number of certainties that are in their life, and not realizing that you're stupid. You shouldn't be believing that in the first place. Okay? He recognizes the fact that you have your own choices to make, and you have to make wise decisions. But acting foolish is not one of those things he can cover. So you just need to be aware of that. And that is something that's important to this. It's even important in the grace message. We still have to be wise. We still have to use wisdom. But it's still there for the message of grace, for the actions of grace, the values of grace to be displayed in other people. And we have to communicate that to them. So, I'm going to give you an example here. Out of Galatians, Apostle Paul makes this comment in the first chapter of Galatians. I kind of scrunched a little bit of it up together so we can see the whole thing. So in verse 12, he says, "For I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it, but by the revelation of Jesus Christ. But when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me by his grace to reveal his Son in me, that I might preach him among the heathens, immediately I conferred not with flesh and blood. Neither when I went up to Jerusalem to them, which were apostles before me, but I went into Arabia and returned again unto Damascus. Then after 3 years I went up to Jerusalem to see Peter and abode with him 15 days. In this example, Paul is relaying to the Galatians how he came across in believing that Jesus was the Christ, the Messiah. It came to him by a revelation. Now notice the words that are highlighted here, because I'm going to show you something else. This is out of Matthew 16. When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" And they said, "Some say that you are John the Baptist, some Elijah, others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." And he said unto them, "But whom say you that I am?" And Simon Peter answered him and said, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered and said unto him, "Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Pretty basic, right? Notice the dates next to each verse passage. Paul issued his sometime between 45 to 65 in the Common Era, while Matthew, the writer of the first gospel that we have in the book, wrote it sometime in the 80s and 90s. Notice the language of the words that are highlighted. It's identically the same words. In Matthew's depiction of this event, it only appears in Matthew's gospel that this occurs. It doesn't appear in the other two synoptic gospels. Now, why is this important? Because Paul, the apostle of grace, got his by revelation. He got knocked on his butt in Damascus, and this is where it came to him. And he went throughout all of Europe, or that area, that region out there, and built his churches following his message. Hear my language? He built his churches following his message. There was great distrust in Paul's message. That's what the entire Galatians message is about. Okay? Because in the Galatian message, Paul went up against none other than Peter and called him out for being the way he was. The Matthew message is the message that was later written after Paul had been executed, after that group of Jerusalem churchgoers had been removed from the city of Jerusalem because it had been decimated, and had all moved to Antioch, which was Paul's home base. And they took the Gentile Christian message and substituted it with the Hebrew Christian message. Two beliefs. The Hebrew message believed that Peter was the church. In Paul's message, we're all the church. Therein lies the message of grace. It belongs to all of us. So let me ask you this. Do you believe in the Word? Because in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the same was in the beginning with God. And all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men, and the light shines in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. There's a lot of use of the word there. But there's more. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he the power to become sons of God, even to those that believe, yes, believe on his name. Even to those. Which were not born, not of blood, nor of will of flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. If you're going to believe something, you have to make sure that you know it's the truth. And when the Word showed up, this is the archetype for man's entire being, is that Word. This is what we're all supposed to be like. Now, we all know that word up there, that word, in the original wording, in the original writings, is the word logos. How many of you knew that logos is the plural of logi? Big deal, you're saying. Okay, I know. But what I want to point out here is very simple. This is not a word that is Hebraic. It's a Greek word. It has a history, a very rich tapestry of meaning that means a whole lot more than what your Word of Faith churches will tell you. See, the first person to actually even write about logos or what it means or what it represented was this gentleman in the 6th BCE called Heraclitus. And he discerned that the cosmos process That in the cosmos, cosmos, that's the whole universe, and everything in the world, everything in the sky, the whole universe, everything. That's the cosmos. When we talk about cosmos in here, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? In the cosmos, there was a process of logos that was analogous. It was like the reasoning to the power of men. In other words, how you reason things out. Okay? Plato went and said that there's logos, there's pathos, and there's ethos. Were three particular mechanisms that we employ in describing or arguing a topic. We apply to the logic, which is the logos. We apply to the pathos, which is to the body, to the senses, or we apply to the ethos, which is the emotions. Okay, that's how he dealt with it. I mean, so we're dealing with a whole bunch of history of how this developed out. But they're saying here, Heraclitus is saying, okay, it's the logic. There is a logic behind how the cosmos works. Zeno of Citium, he defined the logos as an active, rational, and spiritual principle permeating all reality. So no matter what your reality, no matter how much doped up on dopamine you are, there's still a logos going through. Philo, who was a Christian philosopher, he taught that the logos was the intermediary between God and the cosmos, being both the agent of creation and the agent through which the human mind can apprehend and comprehend God. Philosophers called the logos providence, nature, God, and the soul of the universe, composed of many seminal logi contained in the universal logos. Logi is plural or singular, logos is plural. So in the beginning was the plurality of a reason, a plurality of a thought, of a well-designed scheme, a plural scheme that had many individual components in it. And when that main big thought became manifested as the man Jesus, there was still a singular thought in that purpose that was expressed with grace and truth. So I'm going to throw two words out here to you about this because it plays in two words, pantheism and panentheism. Pantheism is the belief that all reality, everything around you, is identical with divinity, with God. Or that everything composes an all-encompassing immanent God. Pantheists thus do not believe in a distinct personal or anthropomorphic God. They don't believe that God is separate from all of reality. Panentheism, on the other hand, is a Greek term that means God in all, and it's very distinct. It's the belief that the divine pervades and interpenetrates every part of the universe and also extends beyond time and space. Unlike pantheism, which holds that the divine and the universe are identical, panentheism maintains an ontological being or distinction between the divine and the non-divine, and the significance of both. See, they have significance. Each has significance. In panentheism, God is viewed as the soul of the universe, the universal spirit present everywhere, which at the same time transcends all things created. Now, why is this important? Because Jesus Christ made all things, and all things were made by him, and in him all things are made that were made. and he was in the world, and he dwelt among us. Okay? So in essence, Jesus is not equal with the creation as much as he is a part of the creation, but greater than the creation. Now, this is further explained in Colossians 1, Ephesians 1, where you get to see the fullness of Christ in the creating event. See, one of the biggest issues that we have to deal with is that most of our beliefs, when we got into church, were centered around a sin redemption motif. Everything that we did, all the worship, the prayers, the genuflecting, whatever it is that we did to come, to make ourselves right, was centered around the fact that there was an original sin that occurred, and men had to get redeemed from that, and there was the redemption for the whole entire process. That only takes place in the 3rd chapter of Genesis, and we missed the first 2 chapters, which deal entirely with the fact that all creation is good. And that's the part that Jesus came to clear up. He didn't come to get rid of our sins as much as bring us back to the goodness that we originally had. So our belief has been stuck. The perception has been that there is this sin redemption issue, not realizing that the perception really should be that there's this goodness that we are. That we are. And we don't value the fact that we are good in God's eyes as much as we value the fact that we are sinners saved by grace. St. Maximus, the Confessor, is probably one of the last church fathers who wrote just before the split between Eastern and Western religion. And in this, he says, in the age to come, through the divinization which will be given to him, and him in this reference will be Christians, that's you and me, anybody who is a Christian in his eyes. He, the Christian, will love and cleave affectionately to the aforementioned Logos that pre-existed in God. Notice, one reasoning that existed in God. Or rather, he will love and cleave affectionately to God himself, in whom the logi of beautiful things are steadfastly fixed. The one beautiful, perfect, logical reason for beautiful things that exists in God. He is a portion of God, then, insofar as he exists. For he owes his existence to the logos of being that is in God. You owe your existence to the multifaceted logic and reason that resides within God. And he is a portion of God insofar as he is good, for he owes his goodness to the logos of well-being that is in God. There's a reason for your well-being in God, a multifaceted reason of your well-being found in God. And he is the portion of God insofar as he is God owing to the logos of his eternal being that is in God. Multifaceted and singular. He also claimed the major characteristic of human person is that he or she is given, from the moment of creation, the task of uniting in oneself, as in a microcosm, the entire cosmos and through that attainment of one's own union with God, thereby to unite the cosmos with God. You, in your own little logi, unite the entire cosmos to God. That was the plan. That was your purpose. That's why you came here today. See, some of you sat here not knowing what your purpose for being here was. This is it. Okay? That's your purpose. So, in closing, this is just the thought. I want you to think about this thought for the week. Do you believe you are a word, a logi, one word, truthfully spoken by love, from the throne of graceful conversation, united to other words, with a divinely reasoned purpose, designed to create the eternal story of the adventures of a cosmic family? Do you believe that? Do you believe that you are a word? See, everybody believes when they read John 1 that that's talking about Jesus, not recognizing it's actually talking about you. Because you unite the cosmos. Because you're in him. We were in him before the foundations of the world. So we are the ones, as a grace people, that are making this happen. This has always been his intent. This is what it means to be in Christ. To be a logi in his logos. To have a purpose to unite the cosmos, not just your little community, your entire effect on the world and the universe. I'm in so many people's brains right now with the reading on me. I don't know who said this, but someone said, if your religion does not have a cosmology to it, it's not worth anything. Because if your religion does not take into effect the entirety of all the universe, what's the purpose of it? So, the value of every story lies in the words which comprise it. You're a word. And you have great value to our story. None of you are periods or commas. There's no semicolons or colons here. Okay? I don't care about parenthetical situations or anything like that. Okay? Together, some of you are a prepositional phrase. I understand that. Okay? And there's a couple of you who are dangling participles. But don't worry about that. You too can become a completed story of everyone's involvement here. If you're going to start with something to believe, start there. Because then you can start building a belief that will have values that you can hang things on.